When you spend more money on your custom-built PC than you technically need to, that's kind of sort of like a rite of passage in the PC community. It's why we've coined the term compulsive upgrade disorder and why everyone at the UFD Tech headquarters are all broke halfway through each month. Except for Reece, because, you know, he's an Apple fanboy, which means he's just broke most of the time. Anyways, yes, ragging on Reece aside, we as PC gamers like ensuring that our systems are the coolest, most RGBist, most powerful, and needlessly expensive beast we can possibly put together, but sometimes people take this way too far, and the result is usually absolutely glorious, which is why in this video we'll be taking a look at the most ridiculously expensive, completely over the top, and undeniably awesome builds on YouTube right now. And let's be honest, with the GPU and RAM markets being hashtag crazy town, looking at them is about as close as we'll be to getting to build something similar. It's just a way for us to kind of relate to everything that's going on. They spent a lot of money, we have to spend a lot of money, it makes sense. But before we dive into it, I actually want to let you guys know that we at UFD Tech have kind of set up our Discord server. We want you guys to join. If you head to the top link in the video description, you can come and join our amazing community of people that are just, we're getting to chat together. It's basically, we're building a community where you guys can interact with me, you can interact with each other. It's one big happy family. Want to give a shout out to Riley, Blink, Ed, all of the guys, Harry, everybody who is currently on the Discord chatting right now. Thank you guys so much for being there. But without further ado, let's jump in to the first build. Linus Tech Tips, 7 gamers, 1 CPU, worth about $30,000. Now, we can't have a list of crazily expensive and highly impractical PC builds without starting off with the Godfather himself, Mr. We build these things because you can't, Sebastian. You'd think that with as many insane projects and builds the LTT team has done over the years, it'd be pretty hard to pick just one, but deep down inside, you already know which one we decided on. That's right, first up on our list is LTT's bonkers 7 gamers 1 CPU build, even though technically it's 7 gamers 2 CPUs, but whatever. We originally planned to go with their latest 56 cores in 1 system build since, you know, it boasts a heck of a lot more logical processors than the one we went with, but it's not a full system yet, so there, we're not, and then they have their Corsair giant PC that they're building with quadros and all of that, but going by pure specs alone, the 7 gamers 1 CPU build is easily one of the biggest and baddest systems anyone's ever built on YouTube, and in fact, according to Linus himself, it was one of their first viral videos. So at the heart of the rig sits an Asus workstation motherboard equipped with 2 Intel Xeon E5v3 chips that are packed with 14 cores and 28 threads totaling 56 logical processors combined and boast a base clock speed of 2.6 gigahertz. Perhaps even more over the top than the system's 8 Kingston 32 gig DDR4 ECC RAM modules, which comes out to a total of 256 gigabytes of total system memory, is the graphics processing for the system is handled by 7 of AMD's R9 Nano cards, and storage comes down to 8 of Kingston's KC400 1TB SSDs, all powered by EVGA's T2 80 Plus titanium 1600 watt power supplies. Those parts, along with LTT's customized Case Labs Mercury S8 chassis alone, come out to just shy of 19 grand. Adding in the 7 Acer Predator X34 displays along with custom cables from Cable Mod and a host of various custom water cooling parts, bringing the total cost of the whole system much closer to a massive $30,000. And specs aren't the only area where this particular rig blows away most of the competition. While the original build video showed the system running 6 instances of Heaven Benchmark with another running an actual game, the second video surrounding the rig really showed off what it can do. In it, the system was used by 7 actual people playing actual games, Crysis 3, and in all instances of the game ran flawlessly at a more than playable 80 FPS at high settings on 1440p resolution. Cooling performance is also nothing short of miraculous thanks to all of that meticulously crafted custom water cooling gear. Truly, it was a sight to behold, and when I saw it first come out, my heart melted a little inside. Heart melting is a good thing. Next up, Unbox Therapy, the Zidax $20,000 build. So speaking of behold-worthy sights, let's get to the build that served as the inspiration for this entire video. Unbox Therapy's custom-built $20,000 Zidax Gaming Goliath. No, that's not what it's actually called. It's actually a limited edition X10, but it totally should have been called Gaming Goliath considering these mad specs. Starting things off is Intel's Core i9-7980XE, an 18-core, 36-thread chip, which has been overclocked by Zidax to hit 4 0.6 GHz, and sits snugly in the Asus ROG Rampage 6 Extreme, better known as the motherboard of our dreams, and has the best freaking RGB on any freaking motherboard on the face of the freaking planet. For memory, it features 8 sticks of G-Skill's Trident Z RAM clocked at 3200 MHz, totaling 128 gigs. And while on the storage front, it comes packed with a 480GB Intel Optane PCI Express SSD and 2 6TB Western Digital black drives. All of that fits easily into the Fantex Enthoo Elite Extreme chassis, which currently goes for $1,100 by itself, by the way. The power supply used in the build wasn't specified, but the most beefy one Zidax currently uses in their X10 models is the Corsair's AX 1500i 80 Plus Titanium. The real highlight of this build, other than the massively overkill core components used, is without a doubt the custom water cooling setup. Pretty much everything that can be water cooled without just being stupid is water cooled, but beyond that, it's water cooled in a way that just looks phenomenal to look at. I'm at a loss for words. Usually have clever metaphors and odd analogies, but it makes me want to salivate on a tarantula. That is how fantastic this thing looks. And also, we spy 3 full 480mm radiators in this friggin' thing. Who needs 3 480mm radiators? Well, probably no one, but that's kind of the point. All in all, Zidax did a phenomenal job on Unbox Therapy's custom rig, and the water cooling, while totally excessive, is masterclass. Next, Vibox Overkill 16,000 pound build. So that being said about Unbox Therapy's build, we can't really talk about Overkill water cooling without including Vibox's drool-worthy Overkill 16,000 pound or $22,429 custom rig. It comes packed with a 10-core 20-thread Intel Core i7-6950X with a max turbo boost frequency of 4 GHz, which is bundled with Asus's ROG's red and black themed Rampage 5 Edition 10 motherboard. Why did they call it that? Memory is handled by 8 Corsair Vengeance LPX 3200 MHz modules for a total of 128 gigs, while storage falls on 2 Samsung A50 EVO 2TB SSDs running in RAID 0, which means that they are just mind-bogglingly fast with tons of storage, and 2 Seagate Barracuda Pro 10TB HDDs. As for graphics, this system is by far the heaviest hitter, coming in with 4 of NVIDIA's Titan X Pascal cards. Not the Titan XPs, the Titan X Pascals, which, is really great anyways. The only way to really top that would be to stick in 2 Titan Vs in there, except for they don't use NVLink because they're dead, but that's like, you'd have to stick in 4 Titan XPs or 2 Titan, who knows? It's impossible to beat, okay? So feeding all of these hungry parts is EVGA Supernova 1600 T2. So Vibox didn't really specify the case used for the build, and that's probably because they couldn't comfortably fit all of the extensive water cooling gear in one to begin with. The sheer time and dedication that had to go into the planning, fabrication, and building of this system is absolutely ridiculous, and all of that hard work really, really pays off. Watching the bright red tinted coolant flowing through each component of the system could keep us entertained for days on end. It really makes the system look like one super powerful living organism and almost looks good enough to justify its horrendously high price tag. Next up, the GFF Event $12,000 Threadripper build. So you don't need a bajillion dollars for a unique, eye-catching system. Sometimes you just need like half a bajillion, which is where GFF Events $12,000 Threadripper build comes in. Not counting the Fantex Enthoo Elite Extreme case used in the Unbox Therapy build, since it's just a big, albeit very attractive square box, one of the biggest highlights of this build is the fantastically futuristic Deep Cool Quad Stellar chassis. It's one of the most out there case designs we've ever seen make it out of the prototype phase and deserves all of the jealous stares it gets from anyone who sees its RGB and transforming glory. Other than the case, the rest of the build is also sure to turn some heads with specs that seems geared towards editing workloads and gaming. It's the only build on the list to sport AMD hardware in the CPU division, and kicking it off is the stellar Ryzen Threadripper 1950X, a reasonably priced 16-core 32-thread behemoth of a chip with a max clock speed of around 4.2 GHz. Serving as the king of Threadripper's throne is the ASRock X399 professional gaming board, which has room for all 8 of the build's G.Skill Trident Z RGB modules, adding up to 64 gigs of memory. Rapid storage comes in the form of 3 240GB APacer Z280 NVMe M.2 SSDs, while the bulk of the system's mental storage capacity is handled by 8, yes, freaking 8 Seagate Ironwolf 10TB HDDs. That is 80 terabytes of storage in a single computer. This isn't a server, this is a PC What? Anyways, quick maths aside, this beast of a rig also includes 2 XFX RX Vega 56 cards, which means you can probably mine for some coin to help pay for the dang thing, as well as a Seasonic Prime 1000 watt power supply to power the whole operation. While not as immediately apparent as in some of the other rigs in this list, the $12,000 Threadripper build also makes dang fine use of water cooling tech to keep the beefy Threadripper and 2 Vega cards somewhat in check, which is a good thing because without it this would probably sound like an industrial fan in a hurricane. Everything about this build is utterly unique though, if a little too pre-built looking for my taste, and if you're into this strikingly modern look and can afford it, it probably won't disappoint. And then lastly, we have TechSource's Electrobox for $4,500. Our last entry in the list makes the cut not because it's one of the most expensive rigs we've ever seen. In fact, it's the cheapest one on the list. No, it makes it on to this list because along with its still insanely high $4,500 price tag, it's also themed up to wazoo. Yes, it's TechSource's ultimate $4,500 water-cooled PC build, also known as the Electrobox. While the original build didn't really have much of a theme beyond the black and yellow color scheme, it really came into its own in TechSource's $7,500 ultimate Wolverine setup video. In it, Ed slaps a Wolverine sticker on the rig's liquid cooling reservoir and it totally changes the game. Now, it's not just a black and yellow abomination, it's a friggin' Wolverine black and yellow abomination. But since it is the least expensive build on the list and a little old by now, the Wolverine-ified Electrobox also features appropriately less impressive specs. Intel's Core i7-6700K acts as the brain of the operation with 4 cores and 8 threads running at a max speed of 4 GHz, while EVGA's Z170 classified K holds everything together. G-Skill's Trident Z3200 MHz strikes again in the memory department, this time in the yellow flavor, adding up to 32 GB of system memory, while Samsung's 850 EVO 500GB handles all of the storage needs. GPU power is handled by 2 of EVGA's superclock GTX 1080s, sucking up all of the power that they can handle from EVGA's Supernova 1000 watt 80+ gold power supply. All of the components are lovingly stuffed into Lian Li's decidedly strange looking PC09WX chassis. But even though the specs aren't all that mind-blowing, especially compared to the other rigs on the list, the way Ed made it all fit together is some exceptional work. The liquid cooling setup really ties everything together in a way that puts it more than on par with the competition, and did we mention the Wolverine sticker? 10 out of 10 would gawk at again. And that's it for this edition of insanely overkill builds we'll never actually be able to afford, even if we sold both of our kidneys and a sizable chunk of our liver. And while we wouldn't recommend going out and buying any of these rigs, even if you had the money, since your rig really should be customized for what you need it to do, it's fun to see what's possible if you throw enough skill, craftsmanship, and money at a good rig. But let me know, did we miss a system that you think should have been on this list? Do you think that there's one that's more beautiful, one that's more expensive, one that's more landmark breaking for the YouTube scene? I mean, the first time I saw Linus's $30,000 build, that I was just like, yeah, I want to be a tech tuber. That's like that. This is the ultimate dream. Like that in my mind, Linus's build was like the pinnacle of PC builds for YouTube. It set the precedent for everything. Anyways, let me know, did we miss one? Either down in the comments or again over on our Discord. Let's have a conversation over there, or even over on Twitter. I am at UFDisciple. But guys, be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech related content. I am Brett with the UFD Tech channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video, which we'll probably still be in this room because we're still in Dallas. So, you know, we'll be in a hotel room again shortly. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.